Hello and welcome to today's episode of Pictures on My Mind, and I'm your host Edward Thompson. I've been a documentary photographer for some time now, and I've got a book, and this book is Gulag by Barry Lewis, published by A Fistful of Books, and it's signed. And I haven't had a look at it yet, so I thought I'd open it for you guys right now. There we go, pop that in there. There we go, nice. What can I say? Savannah cloth, cool font. Picture here. I've been putting it off because it's not going to be a very nice book. It's about gulags in Russia. A photographic journey into the darkness of Stalin's Siberian prison camps. From 1930 to 1953, Soviet Russia sent over 8 million people to forced labour camps in Siberia. Nearly 2 million never returned. In the winter of 1991, Barry Lewis documented the camp ruins, prisons and surviving inmates of what is known as the Gulag. So here we go. Whoa, okay, wild. Pretty nice inlay there. Thanks, Barry. Little signature. This book is dedicated to the memory of the Gulag victims, the survivors, and to those who are fighting to reveal the truth. So 1991. So the Berlin Wall has fallen. We're into that whole period after. Was it Glasnost? Was that what it was called? I was 10. Forgive me if I was wrong. So there's a foreword here by Neil Asherson, a journalist and author, one of Britain's leading experts on Central and Eastern Europe. Now, we've got an introduction here by Barry Lewis, which is pretty cool. I do like it when photographers write. It's a very common thing you get in photography, where photographers either don't like writing, or people will tell photographers they can't write to the point where they believe them. But you know what? If you're a documentary photographer, you've probably become an expert on the subject, because not only have you researched it, you've been there. How many journalists have written about stuff and they don't even leave their office? It's all like Zoom interviews or researching online. Some historic images here. A miner who died working in a forced labour camp is laid to rest under the ground, 1931. So it's well documented. He's talking about his journey there in 1991. It's quite a nice paper stock. It's got a nice silk paper. Objects washed up on the shore of Magadan. Wooden houses built by prisoners in the 1950s. You see, Barry Lewis is a photographer of that era where photojournalism still existed. They were able to have these amazing adventures and kind of go on these kinds of assignments and be paid for them and then sell the work. I caught the tail end of it, but by for me, 2010, it was over. And I had to kind of find a way of keep making my projects independently because there was no one anyone was going to pay me to do this kind of work. So nice shot here, the kid on the tank. Military vehicles used as a play area for the Podvig Boys Club. A bit of text about here. Yeah. Well, that's a strong image of that bold red. There's quite extensive captions for these. Obviously, Barry's a photojournalist. He's making lots of notes. And even though it's work made ages ago, he probably would have written a statement to go with the photos. So when he came to pitch it, I got no idea about the context of the work. Who knows? Maybe he worked with a writer. I don't know. I've just opened the book and I'm having a look. But yeah, there's a lot of information here. This woman's an ex-political prisoner and is holding a photo of her son who was born in the prison hospital during her 7 years in eastern Siberia. At a later date, her son, who then worked for the army, wrote in his papers, "My mother was an enemy of the people. what he meant by that is she didn't know and never dared to ask. Well, there we go. You know, what an amazing photograph. Incredible. Lev Emanuelovich Razgun with his wife Rika in their Moscow flat. They had met and secretly married in a prison camp. Wow. One of his books, True Stories, chronicled the many lives of prisoners he met in the camps, from an Afghan prince to a Tsarist naval commander. I didn't forget, this is not a book about me, but about the ones who, like me, were imprisoned and that are not here anymore. They have been forgotten. To them I had a moral debt. What I tell is not fantasy. Everything is truth. Dates, names, places, victims, executioners, without hiding anything. He wrote true stories to bear witness to Stalinist repression and to preserve the memory of a few of the millions who had never returned. The manuscript lay hidden in a drawer for many years until Gorbachev's perestroika made publication possible in 1988. Wow. You know, amazing. I mean, circular mirrors are incredible, but look at that moment. He's caught this, they're holding hands, they're in the mirror, all this ephemera. You know, if you're doing a portrait of someone in their house, wow, you know, what's around them says so much about them. This is an incredible photograph. And the funny thing is, yeah, this is all shot on film, but like back then, like kind of when I was coming up, it's not a big deal. It's just what you did because that's what you photograph with. So, you know, for all you guys kind of shooting on film, being like, I shot it on film, therefore it's good. Well, have a look at some of these photos in this book, right? That's how good it was. Look at that. Look at that amazing landscape. And look at this again, like frames within frames. You know, Barry's like a master photojournalist, using lots of tricks here with framing, with depth. Just also very straight shots as well, straight landscapes, straight portraits. Wonderful. What's going on here? Car accident. Amazing. Again, using mirrors. Like Barry Lewis in this book, you know, depth. It's got great depth. It's got depth in obviously going there and his knowledge, and it's got depth in the imagery. He's not just on one plane. So many planes, you know, collided together. The mirror, the reflection, the sun, the frame of the vehicle. Wow. I mean, it's so trippy. There almost seems to be a glow around the edge of this statue. Like around the edge, is very strange. I will get into this book and read the essays more at a later date, but for now I just want to give you an introduction. The book is available from Fistful of Books, you should check it out, but look at this great portrait. And it's fun, like, you see all these photographs winning portrait prizes at the moment, and they're kind of utterly soulless, staged, nothing, right? Look at that. That's like a portrait, but it's real. It's real. Like the mirroring of the motorbikes, the colours, the red here, the red, their expressions, he's looking away. None of them are doing that like pretentious staring into the middle distance. They're doing it for real. Like it's real. But again, you won't be seeing that in any photo awards. There you go. Great use here of negative space, you know, without the person, what's going on with the person, the raised hand, same with the children crossing. You know, expert lessons in framing and composition in photojournalism. Again, framing of the doorways, the people here. And the way I'm picking this apart, it's like, yeah, of course, that's easy to say afterwards, but you know this when you see it. That's the hardest part about working like as a photojournalist, is nothing's given. Yeah, you might be told you're going to meet someone at some point and they're important, so you should probably do a portrait, which is kind of what Barry did at the start of the book with the survivors. But the rest of it is like chaos. You're trying to find a path, a way through those compositions. You know, a feral dog scavenging, but he waited for it to leap up at that point. Amazing. Entrance to the camp. So it's been a lot of build-up now. Holy moly. Escape from the camp was difficult due to the presence of armed guards without lookout towers and high security fencing. The real deterrent, however, was the isolation, being alone in the middle of the great emptiness of frozen Siberia. Well, there's a devil hanging out there on a chimney. A witch and a devil overlook the prisoners, pouring concrete at temperatures below 30 degrees, minus 30 degrees. That's brutal. Prison guard inspection. Prisoner's morning roll. I mean, you know, the hard thing now we know, is a lot of these prisoners in this kind of situation in Russia, it was like political dissent. And like, who knows what minor infraction that was. That's the book on the cover. Prison lunch of bread and soup. Each time they brought in the soup, it made us all want to cry. We were ready to cry for fear that the soup would be thin, and when a miracle occurred and the soup was thick, we couldn't believe it and ate it as slowly as possible. But even with thick soup in a warm stomach, there remained a sucking pain. We'd been hungry for too long. All human emotions, love, friendship, envy, concern for one's fellow man, compassion, longing for fame, honesty, had left us with the flesh that had melted from our bodies. Varlem, Shalamov, Kolmer tales. Yeah, brutal. And that's the tough thing, man, isn't it? Like, that is like entrenched suffering in a prison environment. But like, you know, you read that out and it just sounds like also the effects of poverty anywhere all over the world. Like anyone experiencing, you know, starvation and desperation, which is just across the globe. In the 21st century, we're living in the future, guys. What's going on? Watched by the prisoner governor and inmate displays severe burns received while in custody. Jesus, look at this guy. I mean, the other crazy thing is access as well. You know, Barry got in there and he got these photos and he got out. Like, what was going on? Like, how did he wrangle the access? Would they let you do that kind of stuff now? Probably not. We've seen how... Oh, beautiful. Again, great portrait, great portraits. Yeah, we've seen how, like, post-social media now, everyone's very aware of the threat of photography. Do you know what I mean? The dangers of photography and video, or don't let that person film this, don't photograph me, all this stuff. But even, like, when I was coming up, even in the early, like, noughties, people were still a little bit more unguarded when it came to photography. You know, a photojournalist could get in and do this kind of work, and maybe make some change, but did any change happen from this? Where did this work go? You know, I do not know. Holding a picture of Christ. Wow. It says here, some witnesses from the camp state that it contained a top-secret research and medical facility where experiments were conducted on camp inmates into the effects of radiation. Officially, the camp housed about 200 inmates at the start, and the prisoner population reached roughly 2,000 after the war, but the data is speculative, as most of the information about Butagchag was and still is classified. For example, the uranium enrichment plant situated on the site was identified on the maps of the Gulag as an agricultural base. Because I just caught it saying something about radiation levels. When we visited the camp 35 years after its closure, the rocks used to build the structures were still emitting a dangerous level of radioactivity. Well, there you go. It is beautifully printed. The colours are fantastic. I mean, Barry is a master here. I mean, it even looks, to me, almost looks like fill flash going on this one. But done really nicely. Really nice fill flash. You're doing really nice fill flash from 35mm. Oh, yeah. And the depth to this one as well. It's like something out of a fantasy film or a horror film. Yeah. Although the foliage grew well around the deserted camp, the radiation levels in the area are way above normal. It says here, local guide. In the summer, we don't eat berries here and we don't drink the water from the river. Well, there you go. Some acknowledgements here, dedicated to the memory of the victims of Stalin's Great Terror. There you go, Barry Lewis. There he is. Oh, there's a photo of him. There he is, right in the middle. From left, writer. So he was with a writer. Yeah. It says, you know, he studied under Bill Brunt when he won a scholarship to the RCA. Hey, people who backed the book. Well, that's not me, unfortunately. I did pick up a copy of this from the book fair I was at. But look at all those people. That's a really nice thing to do, isn't it? There you go. So yeah, a bit of a bleak one, guys. But you know, a nice little book, nicely laid out, nicely printed. Fistful of books. Check it out.